Javier Milei's political philosophy, deeply influenced by libertarian ideals and objectivism, places a strong emphasis on individual freedom and property rights. This chapter explores Milei's stance on these issues, highlighting their significance in his broader political and economic vision for Argentina. 1. Individual freedom as a cornerstone. Milei champions individual freedom as a fundamental principle, advocating for the right of individuals to make choices without excessive government interference. This encompasses freedom of speech, freedom of association, and the freedom to engage in economic activities. Milei's perspective aligns with Ayn Rand's objectivist philosophy, which holds individual liberty as a paramount value. 2. Property rights and economic prosperity. Milei views property rights as essential to economic prosperity and personal liberty. He argues that secure property rights are the foundation of a free market economy, encouraging investment, entrepreneurship, and responsible stewardship of resources. Milei's economic policies, including his stance on privatization and deregulation, are underpinned by the protection and promotion of property rights. 3. Critique of state intervention. Milei is critical of what he perceives as overreach by the Argentine government in private affairs and property matters. He contends that excessive regulation, taxation, and state control infringe upon individual property rights and hinder economic growth. His advocacy for reducing government size is partly rooted in the desire to curtail such interventions. 4. The role of government. Consistent with objectivist principles, Milei envisions a limited role for the government, focused primarily on protecting individual rights, including property rights. He supports a legal and judicial system that upholds contractual obligations and resolves disputes, but otherwise advocates for minimal state involvement in personal and economic affairs. 5. Challenges to upholding these principles. Implementing a strong stance on individual freedom and property rights in Argentina presents challenges, considering the country's history of economic instability and state interventionism. Balancing these rights with public interest, especially in areas like environmental protection and social welfare, is a complex task. 6. Social implications. While enhancing individual freedoms and property rights can stimulate economic activity and personal responsibility, it raises questions about the potential social impact, particularly on vulnerable populations. Milei's approach necessitates strategies to ensure that increased freedom does not lead to greater inequality or social injustice. 7. Political viability and public support. The extent of public support for Milei's stance on these issues is crucial for their political viability. Gaining consensus and navigating the political landscape to implement policies that significantly alter the status quo on individual freedom and property rights are significant challenges. In summary, Javier Milei's strong emphasis on individual freedom and property rights reflects his libertarian and objectivist influences. These principles form a core part of his vision for Argentina, proposing a significant shift away from state intervention towards greater personal and economic liberty. However, the realization of this vision must contend with the complexities of Argentina's socio-political context, and the imperative to balance individual rights with broader social and economic considerations. Javier Milei's political ideology, deeply colored by libertarian thought, is significantly influenced by Ayn Rand's philosophy of individualism. This chapter delves into the nuances of Rand's individualism and how it has shaped Milei's approach to politics and policy in Argentina. 1. Rand's concept of individualism. Ayn Rand's philosophy places the individual at the center of her ethical and political framework. According to Rand, individualism is the moral stance that upholds the supremacy of individual rights, freedom, and independence. Rand advocates for rational self-interest, where individuals pursue their values and happiness as their moral purpose. 2. Influence on Milei's ideological framework. Milei's political beliefs resonate with Rand's ideas of individualism. He champions the rights of individuals over collective demands and the primacy of personal liberty. His economic and social policies are rooted in the belief that individual freedom and responsibility lead to societal prosperity and ethical governance. Milei echoes Rand's skepticism of government power, arguing that individual freedoms are often compromised under extensive state control. 3. Individualism in economic policy, Milei's economic agenda, advocating for free market capitalism, minimal state intervention, and privatization, is in line with Rand's objectivist economics. Rand's emphasis on a laissez-faire economic system as a manifestation of individual rights and freedoms finds expression in Milei's policy proposals. 4. Social and ethical dimensions. Milei, inspired by Rand, views individualism as not just an economic principle but a broader social and ethical philosophy. This perspective informs his stance on issues like welfare, education, and healthcare, favoring private initiative and personal choice over state provision and control. 5. Challenges and criticisms. The implementation of Randian individualism in the context of Argentina's socio-economic landscape presents challenges, given the nation's history of collective movements and state intervention. Critics of Rand's philosophy argue that it overlooks social responsibilities and the role of community and government in addressing inequalities and providing public goods. 6. Public reception and political strategy. The acceptance of Rand's individualistic philosophy among the Argentine public is varied, influencing the political strategy Milei must adopt. Milei faces the task of reconciling Rand's individualistic principles with the prevailing cultural and social norms in Argentina. 7. The global context. The chapter also explores how Rand's philosophy of individualism has influenced global libertarian movements, and where Milei's ideology fits within this broader context. In conclusion, Ayn Rand's philosophy of individualism significantly influences Javier Milei's political and economic ideology. His approach to governance, emphasizing individual rights and freedoms, echoes Rand's objectivist principles. However, adapting these principles to the Argentine context presents unique challenges, requiring a nuanced understanding of the local socio-political dynamics and the global movement towards individualistic governance. Javier Milei's adoption of objectivist and libertarian principles, particularly in the unique socio-political landscape of Argentina, has far-reaching implications for society. This chapter explores how Milei's policies, rooted in individualism and economic liberalism, might impact various facets of Argentine society. 1. Impact on social welfare and equity. Milei's push for a reduced government role in the economy and social services could lead to significant changes in the welfare system. There is a potential shift towards more private sector involvement in providing social services, which raises concerns about access and equity, particularly for the underprivileged and marginalized groups. 2. Cultural shift towards individual responsibility. Milei's policies promote a cultural shift from collectivism to individualism, emphasizing personal responsibility and self-reliance. This could foster a more entrepreneurial spirit and innovation, but might also challenge traditional social structures and safety nets. 3. Redistribution of economic power. The move towards deregulation and privatization may lead to a redistribution of economic power, potentially benefiting entrepreneurs and the business sector while reducing the influence of the state and unions. The societal response to this shift could vary, with some embracing the opportunities it presents and others feeling marginalized or disadvantaged. 4. Changes in labor dynamics. Deregulation and labor market reforms proposed by Milei may lead to a more flexible labor market. While this could increase employment opportunities and attract foreign investment, it also raises concerns about job security, workers' rights, and income inequality. 5. Education and healthcare. Milei's approach to reducing state involvement in sectors like education and healthcare could lead to significant changes in these systems. The quality, accessibility, and affordability of education and healthcare services could be impacted, raising questions about the long-term social implications. 6. Political polarization and public discourse. Milei's ideological stance, distinct from traditional Argentine politics, may contribute to political polarization. The public discourse could become more ideologically charged, impacting social cohesion and the ability to reach consensus on key issues. 7. The role of civil society and community organizations. With a reduced role for the state, Civil society and community organizations might play a more significant role in addressing social needs and gaps. This could lead to a strengthening of these organizations, but also place additional pressure on them to fill roles traditionally played by the government. 8. Adapting to global economic trends. Milei's policies aim to align Argentina more closely with global economic trends towards market liberalization. This alignment might have implications for Argentina's international relationships and its role in the global economy. In conclusion, the societal implications of Javier Milei's objectivist and libertarian-inspired policies in Argentina are multidimensional and complex. While they hold the potential for economic growth and increased individual freedoms, they also pose challenges to social equity, traditional structures, and the role of the state. Navigating these changes will require careful consideration of the diverse needs and perspectives within Argentine society.